heebies. What you doing with jeebies? Said I got those heebies, got those heebies, the heebie-jeebie blues.
Let's see.
You're 1,000 times sweet.
It depends on how it's looked at. But it seems to me somewhere that I had read that because we are volunteers and we're on the council, that we're considered basically unpaid employees of the town. So if that's the case, a personal insurance policy may take offense to a business type
A town.
thing.
A town.
So, I mean, I hope nobody minds, but I called my insurance agent
Mhm.
and I said, well, we have a council on aging where I live. I said, and I'm a volunteer there. I said, and if by some chance, as a volunteer, I take a member that lives in Ocam somewhere to a doctor's appointment, shopping or whatever, I said, and something happens, is that covered under my insurance policy? She had no idea. So she's checking into it and she's going to get back to me. But as of my leaving the house, I have no idea. So by the next meeting, I should have an answer.
That was very nice of you to do that,
Yes,
Becky.
yeah.
Well, I mean, because having been in the insurance industry myself
Uh-huh.
for 17 years on personal lines,
Mhm.
I know that there are times when it is a problem. So I said, well, I'll check just in case.
Mhm.
I was just hoping that she'd have the answer up front. And she said, she said, you're presenting me with a question that I don't want to give you a quick answer on. Oh,
Okay. So we should have that as a follow-up for the next meeting. Is that
yeah,
okay?
because she said she'd try to get it to me by noontime, but she wasn't able to do that.
So does that have us delay the total approval of these minutes or do
No. She's just adding additional information.
adding additional information?
Yeah, here's the question. She's just
Okay,
enhancing it and then we'll follow up next meeting too.
okay. So any other comments or questions? Well noted, Becky, thank you.
I make a motion to accept the meetings as written.
That's
The minutes,
Yeah. What did I say?
meetings.
meeting.
Sorry. Minute. It begins with an M.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And moving on, reports from me first. And I've explained that I'm a little, I tend to put my ideas together and then when I look at the agenda, my ideas don't follow the agenda very well. So bear with me. I have some things to share, but I'll try to break them up as to where they belong. For me, it's been a good month with lots of activities, and I did an 8-month look back, and we've come a long way. Finally, all the remaining items have been brought to the trash. They've been recycled. Things have gone to Staples. We have a procedures or a information notebook in the office, an outreach manual in the office with all the contact information that we would need to help people calling in. And contact lists have been posted by the phone with important numbers and in the office. I think we'll know for sure, but all the accounts are kind of straightened out and in order. We've received another $200 as a donation from the Grahams that we're grateful for. And Mr. Moran, who did the electrical is done. And Mr. Moran is willing to come back and replace some ceiling problems and change out the lighting to LED lighting as a gift to the town. So that's in the works. And for me, I did put off the light signs that aren't on with magic marker and Scotch tape. And I have a handout. I don't know if I hope there's enough, but if anyone's interested, this is you can be perusing. That's a list of all the activities, deliberations, everything we've done for the last 8 months, broken down into things. Yeah, I don't have my own. Things like our exercise programs, which we've added to. Pen Pals, continuing services of Shine, blood pressure screening with glucose testing, weekly coffee with friends. Speakers and programs, I won't list all of them. Gatherings and activities, senior center building improvements, the restaurants we visited, and there's a lot of other. And you're welcome to look through it. I'll refer to it a little bit later. And that's kind of all I have. I spent some time going through all our calendars and all the minutes to come up with, because I was getting a feeling that I was doing one thing, or I should say, we're doing one thing as it came up and just jumping from one thing to another. It was nice to go back and see sort of a pattern to what we've been doing. So that's my report. And next is.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Were you able to get the computer to turn on?
Yes.
Was it the power?
We have a computer guru in the building.
Was it the power?
I don't know, I just hit the power button and it came on.
Oh, Melanie pushed the power button too, but it's.
I held it.
Oh, I thought it was something.
I had to hold it an extra 30 seconds.
Oh, and we have a nice gift that's hanging over here, a town flag for the senior center
Oh,
that
very
we will
nice.
post outside the senior center.
And who did that come from?
If Marin
Aaron.
donated that to the,
Oh, nice,
And why do we
nice.
have a second? What's the
You
second?
can hang it in your house.
Very nice. That's
I
very.
don't know
nice.
why, I think it was an accidental ordering of two.
Oh, okay.
You could put it in the building. Originally, I envisioned that could go on one of the garden flag things and put into the grass out there. But you have to get a 28-inch by 40. And so if the Council on Aging wants to order that, it takes like 2 weeks
Okay,
at Lowe's.
okay.
But for now, I figured you at least had a flagpole that you could.
Right, and we're grateful for the new bracket because that one is rusted and the screw is snapped off, so.
Did we lower it a little?
Oh, yeah, we have short people. We might need to lower it a little. I did put a stool in the entryway, however, for anyone who's too short to get it up there.
All right, I'll stretch.
Okay.
And I have just a comment. This is going to be good to have because in September, you'll need to submit an annual report to the Elder Services. And I think if I remember reading what was on the Council of Aging Association website, I think a report goes to the selectmen as well. So I think you have to send it to two places, but I'll double check that.
We can thank Lucy was nice enough to do the annual reports for this year. Did you get my forwarded email that Frank, okay. Adam Frank or Frank Adam?
Frank,
It is Frank. I never know which
Yeah.
way it goes.
Yeah.
That he hadn't received it, but I'm sure you're aware of what to do with that. Okay.
Okay.
The annual town report goes to the town hall.
Up to the town
It goes
hall?
into the town book in June when that's the annual town meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's where it goes.
That's where it goes. Okay.
And that was one of the other reasons I didn't want to wait till the end of the year to try to figure out
Right.
all we had done. So I thought I was aiming for 6 months, but then Christmas and all of that hit. So it became an 8-month review. So,
Okay.
all right.
Now,
And an outreach report? Do we have? Jan was going to Zoom or something?
Nope.
No?
Well,
Okay,
she's not zooming. That's
okay.
what you mean.
And I did have a final report from her on the health fair that was a success. As I remember, there was a total of 15, I didn't bring it up, I'm sorry, I thought we would have her. There were, I think, 15 vendors and 25 visitors. And she did report about the food and that it was a success and that people have asked her to, other organizations have asked her to organize health fairs going forward. So, well attended, I guess. So, okay, and the treasurer's report.
yeah, there's not much to report this week. I got an email from Lori Bartlett this morning and the period is just closed out. So the reports are just coming out now. Lori reminded me that our deposits have not yet been posted since November. I know that Wendy is behind because she had the excise taxes and the real estate taxes back to back, and those have to take priority. So I stopped by to see Wendy and she has a number of files for us. They have to be posted. They have been deposited in the bank, but they have to be posted. So what I told her I would do is I would put together like a list of what I show as pending postings. And then she and I could go over the pending postings together. And then at least we're in agreement. But until she gets the excise taxes done,
yeah.
then we're just going to have to wait for the posting. So I don't have any real numbers to report for that reason. The third point I wanted to make is I contacted Frank Adams, I sent him an email just to ask him when we could expect the second part of the formula grant. And I haven't heard from him. So I decided I would contact Nancy at the Rutland Senior Center. And I would ask her in her experience, when is the second payment on the formula grant generally come about? Now, if I don't hear, I would just call Frank Adams and I will ask him. But I wanted to start first with an email, so I had something that was a hard copy.
Because we're still deficit spending on,
No, we got the first half. You're not deficit
Not yet.
spending.
not
Mhm.
anymore.
No.
No, okay,
I think last month we had about $1,300 left.
okay.
And that's when I said, let's kind of go easy. I'm going to try to find out when we get the second half.
Mhm.
We should be taking it from other accounts as well, and not to forget about that there is a recreation account and an outreach account as well. So I won't really know about those till I get the trial balance from Lori. And then the operating budgets that were closed out. And like I said, I explained to Wendy, the reason why I appear a little anxious is because that I had told the group, you don't spend anything. Let me
All this new technology. Wow.
Oh, you tell.
Because that was right up there, and you had a little mute thing down in the lower right-hand corner.
Ah,
And on the
Anyway,
speaker on the table, it would be red too if it was muted.
And I noticed an omission on the agenda. We need a report from Melanie, which happened last month. Which happened last month also.
Well, I actually kind of have much to report. The fitness classes are awesome. Attendance is amazing. I am currently talking with North Brookfield and Barry because we need a new home within a month, at least for Mondays. Personally, if we can find a new home that will house Monday and Friday
Great.
for consistency, I would be happy with that, but at least Monday. So that is in the works. I have no official anything on that, but that's what I am working on that. I have signed us up for 2 activities with Hartman's and 2 activities with Bemis. We have lunch bunches coming once a month, the first Friday of the month. And that will be on the calendar every month. We're down to 2 movies, and we are planning a field trip to Mechanics Hall with the Alta bus is signed up. So if we could get 8 people to take the bus, so I feel like we're making the best use of it, that would be super. But I know I have one.
I think you have more than one downstairs.
Okay.
well, you have,
awesome.
you know what, signed up. I don't know
Yeah.
if they're all signing up for the bus.
Right,
But if you'd like to fill the bus, I'll go that way.
right, right.
and I'm going that way.
Okay.
And as far as the fitness classes go, we are going to have liability waivers that what I have them for the studio. The students sign it so that you are not that they confirm that it's okay with their doctor and that you are not responsible if they push themselves beyond their limits and something happens. Not that we wouldn't do something if that happened, but it's important to have that slip of paper, at least psychologically.
And I think we should have a disclaimer in the Herald because we're offering more activities, not only Melanie's classes, but the walking group and whatever, that people maybe should be aware that they should check with their doctors before getting involved in any activity. That sort of, the normal activity waiver that you kind of, or disclaimer that you see.
That's it, disclaimer,
Disclaimer.
waiver.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be good going forward. I mean, we've been doing things like cornhole and things outside where people could trip and fall and whatever, which that's a different liability. But then again, somebody threw out their shoulder playing cornhole or something like that. I think we should have some kind
And they're not.
hot, right? I think we should have some kind of a disclaimer.
That's in the works. I will have that by the end of the week. And we have yoga starting next month, I hope, because I would really like to have at least 8 people signed up for that. And at this point, are you planning to?
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
So I have 4. I need 4 more.
Okay.
But Lisa Holloway will be coming to teach yoga downstairs in the senior center Tuesdays at 1, so we won't disrupt anyone's lunch or other activities. But it is very encouraging to see all the physical activity because it also builds community.
Right.
You know, the walking group is amazing.
We're up to 7 or 8. And I established a little phone thing so that I can tell them in the morning if the weather is bad or whatever. I send out a message and they can say yay or nay. I do have to tweak that a little bit because I see everybody's names, but the people responding don't see other people's names. And it would be good for them to know that if I'm not here, there are 4 other people who would be here anyway.
Right.
So you're not walking alone.
I'll
sort of
help
thing.
with that later.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
You said the lunch bunch first Friday or third Friday?
no, the third
Third Friday. And the first Friday,
lunch and learn.
lunch and learn.
I got my L's mixed up.
Okay. And those are all scheduled?
I have a lot of them done. April, Dina Hanks is coming. May, Nicole is coming, the nutritionist. June is open right now, and the fellow from the Attorney General's office, the DA's office, Kevin is coming in August. So,
Okay. And doing that ahead like that, we can advertise it or at least have it in the Herald well in advance, and that gets away from that. We don't have enough time to get the word out for that first Friday.
We can also try getting the Herald out a little bit faster too.
Sure.
we're working on it.
Melanie, when is the yoga gonna start?
The beginning of April, so if April 2nd. And it will be hatha yoga. And if you need a chair, she's actually we'll start with chair, and she wants to see what everybody's abilities and limitations are so that she can kind of build the class around you.
Well, I know I can't sit with my legs like they do in the.
I can't either.
By the end of the class, I wouldn't be able to get up.
You know what, Becky, you do what
You're
you
not
can,
alone.
and you'll find that over time you become more flexible, little by little by little. You have to be patient. Do.
So as far as I know, unless we want to supplement the yoga, I don't any money at this point in time.
Not for any meal activities or anything? The March Madness is
That's potluck.
potluck, right? So there's no real, and we talked about it being mismatched because there's lots of paper products that there aren't enough for one activity. So if we mismatch everything and do March Madness, we have enough of everything with potluck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, I need no monies. I'm a cheap date. And we got the grants for the
Hartman's.
So that's covered mostly. And we got the other grant as well, this 600 and 700, because I applied for 2 grants. So I got $100 less than what I asked for on both. One was 600 and one was 7. That's what we're getting. Yep, that's what we've gotten.
Okay, those are not the formula grants, those are
No.
additional grants
That's
that
the
you're
arts-
getting.
Lottery.
Is that
Grants.
600 for Hartman and 700?
600 and one was, I applied for $700 and $800 and I got $600 and $700.
Figure that one out.
Those
Yeah,
both for Hartman?
right.
I think it's just-
They were both for Hartman's, yeah.
I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
You have, those grants are coming from the Arts Cultural Council.
Mhm.
There's a form you have to fill out.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Does Linda Sope know that? Because she's the one who told me I got the money.
Well, but how do we actually physically get the money?
Yeah, yeah.
That the form may be
Yeah,
for
yeah.
actually receiving it.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda Sope would know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so do I need to do that paperwork? Well, obviously.
Call Linda for guidance, that's all. I'll just
Yeah.
call Linda for guidance.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So I believe that's all I have to report at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
I can take a break. I have a question for you, Aaron. What I was doing is, when I do Zooms myself, I get a summary, AI companion summary, and a copy of the captions and stuff. Do I get that for this? Do I get any kind of summary of the meeting?
No, not at this point. We're trying to get control of the Zoom account. Right now, it's in another volunteer. There is a transcript that we get, which is what's
Captions?
that's all we get.
Can I get a hold of that?
What's that?
Can I get a hold of that?
Yeah. Once the meeting closes, it'll email, and that's how I upload it to YouTube. It'll give me 3 files. the
And I have
video,
messages.
and then the transcript. So I could send you the transcript.
That'd be good. Thanks. I do recommend the AI companion that gives you a summary. You do a pretty good job, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we have capability of updating on the Zoom because we don't actually have control of it at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Mel?
And I'm working on trips.
Okay,
I don't have any firm anything yet, but I am working on it. I've had a couple of different requests, so I am working diligently on those, but it would be nice to see us actually go out and do stuff.
right.
I have more.
You have one?
I wrote down a list.
Okay. Well, I still have your list from last year. Give me this one.
Okay. Motion to approve Melanie's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, moving on, old business, review of the Board of Selectmen policy on medical equipment. I have the release of use of medical equipment waivers that were produced by the Board of Selectmen, if anyone wants to see them. Aaron's gone through it, I've gone through it, I think Mel has looked at it. And it does cover all of those questions of liability that we had concerning the use of medical equipment. So they're here if anyone wants to see them. My idea of this is we have the waivers in place. Lucy was nice enough to get us signs for the storage unit that can be posted that say that basically you take the equipment as is, that it's your responsibility. But we're going forward, if we are going to continue to do this, we're going to need forms for loaned, or we're going to need loaned equipment forms. In other words, who's taking it, where do they live, that sort of thing. And in order to do that, we need to have a way of labeling or marking the equipment that we own so that we know where things are and who has them. We need to go over the equipment that's out there. We know that we're still in the process of having to go through the storage unit and be aware of the condition of the things that are out there. Are they in good condition? We have to get rid of some of the things. It's been advised that we get rid of commodes and those kinds of things that we probably shouldn't be loaning out because we don't know not only the condition, the cleanliness and all of that, and cleaning it. Yeah. And we need to get rid of the overstock equipment. I don't think we need 25 walkers or whatever. Paul was nice enough to put up a rack that we can hang them on so that it's not going to be on the floor. Melanie's brought in some shelves that we can store some of the things that would be shelvable instead of having them on the floor. And we can do that as soon as the weather kind of helps us out and warms up.
I was going to suggest, because I think it was 2 meetings ago, we talked about, and I know Paul you've done work on this, Paul. We talked about, and we set up a subcommittee, to inventory the equipment. We talked about how to mark it. We talked about having, we inventory it, then we can go ahead with the form for checking things out and who has them. Make sure that the person has signed a waiver and get a whole,
Process.
yeah, not burdensome, but a
Right.
definite process in place. And it was postponed because there was a request that we wait for the selectmen to come up
Right.
with the waiver form.
And now we have that.
I suggest we set a date that we're going to start. Now, Paul, you did a write-up. I heard from Barbara. I didn't see it. I don't know if that had to do with this or it was a
It's
policy.
the next one.
It's the next
one.
Okay.
Yep.
But, okay, so I was going to suggest that committee, and now I have to remind myself who was on the committee. It was me, Becky, Jan Hanrahan,
Judy.
Judy.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to be on it, Paul. Be on
I
it?
don't mind coming on it. I'm just like,
Okay, yeah.
I'm not a council member, so.
Okay, but for your input,
Who's Judy?
because your input's very, very, very helpful.
Judy's not quite ready to come back. She's
I'm saying that we have people who aren't on the council already.
right. Oh, Judy's not. Oh, gotcha. She's
Becky,
not quite ready to come back.
me,
you can-
Paul, who did I leave out now? I had 4 people. Oh, Jan.
Yeah.
That's 5. So what we should do is at least set a date. Let's get together. We'll scope out what we want to do and set some target dates to get done with it and get going. I was going to do some research, Paul, on marking tools. Now, I think I brought up vibropining, but I thought, boy, but that's expensive. Yeah,
On Amazon, I just looked, $35 for a roll of 500 of asset tags.
of asset tags.
Those
Okay.
are really good. They stick.
Did they stick? That was the concern, that they would stick, that they would last. Okay. And their asset,
Yeah, if you just put up asset tags in Amazon,
yeah, okay.
you can put your own name on them and come in a roll.
That's easy to do then. So that would get us going. And I think it's important to start.
Okay, do you want to set a date? Do you want to come up
I'm
with it?
pulling out my calendar. I'm
Okay.
turning on my phone because it was ringing
Okay.
before. It's taken a little while to boot up. But I have learned to use my calendar, not to, oh yeah, I can do it then. Because invariably I double book.
I know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all do.
Not a good thing. And especially when other people, they make commitments. Here we go. Here it comes. Here it comes. Yeah, okay. Here we are.
Mine's not quite as technological.
Oh, come on, come on.
Comes up a lot faster.
It does. Well, if you can find one.
Okay, so, all right. I don't know if everybody else has their calendars. Okay. March. All right, so my week begins to open up. The latter part of the month of March, like the week that ends March 29th. How does that week look for other people?
Right now, I don't think it's week in March.
Okay, so why don't we target the 27th of March?
Which is a Wednesday, but it would have to be
Yeah.
afternoon probably.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm thinking. Okay, so like 1
And is that a
PM?
movie? That would be a movie in the afternoon.
On
From the
Wednesday.
27th.
Oh, that's right, you guys have a,
Yeah,
okay, you have a
That's all right.
movie.
You guys can work out. Just make sure the movie's running.
Yeah. But one of the things, I'll caution you, because one of the things we said was about scheduling more than one activity
Yeah,
at the
Oh,
senior
are you
center.
doing it in the senior center?
No, it would be outside, but nevertheless, I know the walking overlaps and that sort of thing, but we've been trying to,
how about Friday, the 29th? We have a lunch on,
Friday, you know that.
that's the.
no, I didn't know,
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, I can.
and I have a 1 PM dentist.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
You want to move it to go into April, or
yes,
the weather might be a little warm?
and the weather might be better.
Maybe not.
Right, how about April 5th, which is a Friday?
It's fine. It's my son's birthday.
Lunch and learn.
April 5th.
Lunch and learn.
Lunch and learn. Oh, we got a busy schedule, I gotta tell you. I mean, we have got a busy schedule. Okay, when's that? Okay, I can do it on Wednesday. We have that, no, we have the morning
I
coffee.
might be able to do it later in the afternoon too. I mean,
Sure.
it's a shorter day than just
Okay,
one.
let's do that because maybe it'll be warmer later on in the afternoon.
If lunch and learn is at noon,
Yeah.
12:30, and we scheduled it for 1:30 or 2 to get together.
Make it Tuesday.
2,
Yeah, give her a little bit of
Sure.
breathing room.
sure.
Okay, so 2,
Does that seem okay with you? And if we're all at the lunch and learn,
Yes.
then we can kind of file out when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we'll probably be doing is like meeting up here and scoping out how we're
Sure.
gonna handle it and
Sure.
everything. How's that sound?
Okay,
So what date is that gonna be?
That is April 5,
April 5, okay.
Friday,
2 PM.
2 PM.
And what are we doing?
Storage unit.
We're gonna be scoping out
Actually doing it.
how we're gonna do our approach for forms for loaning out equipment doing the asset tags on the equipment.
Are we
and
actually going
labeling.
to, if we know all of that, Claire, are we actually going to
We can
get out
start.
there?
We
Get
can
out there,
start. We
if we
can
have
start.
that.
Let's scope it out and then we start.
I mean,
Just
the
keep on
forms could be
rolling.
drawn up before then.
We could. Yeah, we could do a straw
acquire
man.
the
Yeah,
tags,
yeah.
so that we can have things ready, to just get started.
We could, and as a matter of fact, that's a great idea, because then what we can do is everybody can come up with kind of like a straw man of what we think we should have for
Right.
the tags and everything.
Right.
At that meeting, we can discuss it, combine the ideas, or pick the best one
Okay.
and use it.
Okay.
And just scope out some dates. It's always good to scope out some dates so you have targets and you don't get lost.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just call it committee for equipment. How's that? Or equipment committee.
Sounds good.
Okay. And that's at 2:00. And then we have to make sure that Judy knows. And
Jan.
And Jan.
Yep.
Mhm. All right. Sounds good to me.
All set? Yeah. Okay. So moving forward, a policy on home and phone visitation. Now, that, there was a group of you that met. Well, you did not meet,
Right.
but
Yeah, we did.
Becky, you were able to read the manual,
Yeah.
okay?
I read the
Claire,
manual.
right, and Judy read the manual, and Judy had written instructions. I don't know where they went. She had put her ideas in writing.
Ah,
And I didn't know at this point, in order to move forward, if you all have your ideas, I'm going to read something that I think, from talking to some of you about ideas, that I think should be going forward. No final, this is just I'm throwing out an idea of what it should look like. So, the group has not met, am I right?
that is correct.
So to discuss anything?
Correct.
No, okay. So going forward with the discussions that we've had here about liability and all of that, and Paul was able to bring some ideas to the select board. Putting that much together, I would see our policy as being no member of the board of the Council on Aging should transport any unrelated senior for the purpose of Council on Aging events or personal appointments. Secondly, no member of the Board of Council on Aging should be making any in-home visits to seniors. Outreach needs should be met with phone visits and by putting phone requests into the hands of professional resources. And lists of those resources have been posted by the phone. That's what I have. That's trying to simplify what I think I've heard. Now, I don't know if someone who words things better than I do would want to come up with better wording for the whole policy or not. But rather than wait too much longer to see how things are going to play out, I think this is what we should. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but I think we need to make the decision today.
Good starting point.
I think it's a good start.
The decision about a
Yeah.
policy for home, how was it worded? Home and phone visitation.
Do we have a policy?
That's what I'm suggesting. How do I do that?
Well, first thing I would do is ask Rutland if they have a policy already that we can kind of take a look at for some of the wordsmithing.
I know,
Just to save
I know that
time.
that's what they do. I know that
Yeah.
this is what they do,
Yeah,
because
so
I've
they
talked,
they must have a policy.
they must have it written down.
Yeah,
Okay.
then we can take it from there and we can add, subtract.
Is there, are there any questions about what I just said? Or,
The substance, I think we're in agreement on.
Well, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, so it's the wording? Yeah.
Also, I seem to remember reading somewhere where there was one town that was giving the people that do the phone visitations, like some
It's right here.
teaching on
So in,
what not to do.
In Rutland's newsletter, it was Rutland that when Nancy Nichols came with the town manager from Rutland, she alluded to the fact that there would be some training and whatever. In their newsletter, it says, "You've got a friend, a new program. Remember that old James Taylor song with winter, spring, summer, or fall? Yeah, all you've got to do is call and I'll be there. Many of our friends can no longer join us at the COA facility. We miss them and all of the other seniors of Rutland who are homebound. The Council on Aging is initiating a new program to reach out via telephone and touch base with our friends at home. This peer-to-peer volunteer group will be trained on the intricacies of friendship outreach, and all calling will be done from the COA facility. If you are interested in volunteering for this new program, or if you know someone at home who would like to receive a call and chat with a friend, please sign up on the volunteer sheet and pass the name of the homebound senior to Karen or Nancy." This is what she was alluding to, and we did ask if we could be included in that training, and I got an affirmative, but nothing's been set up.
Because I think it's important for anybody that's going to do that. You should have some boundaries on what you can discuss and what you should stay away from. Because if you dive into it too much, you might end up saying something that you really shouldn't be saying because you don't have the qualifications and you don't want to put us at risk.
Yes, risk.
You know, I just to interject something. I see that as two separate topics. I see what they were doing as a socialization program for people that were isolated. And then the other program that I see is when people call
With a need.
with a need.
Right.
And I think our policy is going to address people who call with a need.
Okay.
So the visitation is there was something that was over and above the need. They were actually just trying to make sure that people stay socially engaged, because otherwise you tend to slip into mental issues such as, dementia, things like that. That was what they were really trying to prevent. Now, when it comes to people calling, that's another thing we have to deal with. The policy is, making sure that the phone calls get answered. And I know personally, when I read the manual, it gave a list of organizations. But boy, that means nothing to me.
Right, there are numbers now.
Just
I tried to choose appropriate ones, and there are numbers beside the phone now that will guide you a little bit. And the manual is in the office.
So maybe for like lunch and learn, or however we want to handle it, if some of these organizations could send a rep to give us an idea a little bit more fully of what they do.
Right.
And then we would have is that a bad idea, Melanie?
No, she said she's been trying to do that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry to upstage, But I just felt if I wanted to volunteer, I'd be very uncertain because I just never had any contact with any of those agencies.
Exactly.
I just would like to know more so I don't give them.
Perhaps Elder Services as the umbrella would be the agency to go to, because they sponsor a lot of those agencies.
That would be easier.
Right.
So maybe we can, that'd be part of what we include. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
How about next month?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you had an opening, right? The lunch and learns.
Yeah, that's too far out.
Too far out? Okay.
We'll do it a Wednesday afternoon
Okay.
Okay.
or Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay. So how do I wrap this up as far as our policy? We're going to wait to get appropriate wording. We're all in agreement on the basic ideas, and we need to get more formal language.
We need to have language. Yeah.
Okay. I can call Rutland and see if she has something in writing.
I'm gonna do it. I'm not sure how to do it this meeting, but next meeting, it'd be nice to have something that's in print. That we can just pass out to folks.
Okay.
Because Nancy's been so helpful. And
Yes.
I looked up Elder Services. We have a rep for the Massachusetts Council on Aging in Barry. I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's something like Eileen Clarkson. And she's our rep. And she's the rep for Ocam, Rutland, I think Holden, Hardwick, of course, Barry. So all these local towns, she's the rep from Elder Services. So, but, you know,
She may be the one you want to get to, Mel, as far as our training kind of thing.
I looked up,
Nice to meet her.
yeah, the Massachusetts Council on Aging, and then I looked up their team, and then they listed who the reps are all across the state and what towns they represent, and their phone numbers. I don't know the last time they updated the list, but let's hope that it's. So I was happy that we have one in Barry.
Okay. All right, so for the next meeting, to try to get more specifics in place so that we have a policy. As long as we're all in agreement that this is what you want to see in the policy.
I think we do.
Okay, okay. All right. And coming kind of out of that that's the new business of drafting basic bylaws. And this is where I was kind of headed. And when I put together my ideas. So because I felt like the senior center has been just drifting from one event to another, and that we ultimately are responsible for an annual report, I've taken the time to do the 8-month look back at what we've accomplished since our appointments in July. Having read through multiple resources, it became clear to me that in my attempt to delegate responsibilities and make them equitable among all the board members, that I made a mistake. It is clear that only the titles given to the Council on Aging board members are those of the elected positions: chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer. And I've been cautioned by other area senior centers that the Council on Aging board is an advisory body only. We're volunteers trying to work for the benefit of our local seniors. In my opinion, and because of my mistake of creating job descriptions for our positions, giving a title like outreach coordinator is creating the semblance of a paid position. If in fact we're going to move the town, OCAM, to hire a permanent director and outreach coordinator that other towns have and pay for, we should not, as board members, be assuming those roles as volunteers without the expertise and training that those titles indicate. Melanie is the paid employee with the title of activities coordinator. We on the board are just that, members of the board with our elected roles. And I showed you the handout. These are all the activities, deliberation, services, and actions that we have with the coordination with our activities coordinator. That's what we've accomplished in 8 months. I've gone back through all the minutes, calendars, heralds to put this together. But if any of you see something that I've forgotten, please tell me. And I thank Lucy again for writing the annual report for this year that went to the town and to the Mass Council on Aging. Ironically, one resource that I've read says that the job of the chairperson is to question, listen, evaluate, and learn in order to keep an open line of communication to ensure that activities and programs run smoothly. I've tried to do just that, and as usual, I've been overwhelmed and discouraged at times, but I've learned a lot, and the devil is in the details. For the most part, we have worked as a great team. And when you look at that list, I'm overwhelmed looking at what's been accomplished in 8 months. And no one person's name should be attached to any of those successes. Going forward, just know that I'll need to email, I'll need to ask questions, remind people, just as I need reminding, about activities, especially when I receive criticism and questions from the vendors and our public. We are providing important services, and it's amazing to look at that body of activity to see what we've provided. For me, looking back on these accomplishments acts as a true motivation for our future. The difficult work is hopefully behind us, and we can look forward to new adventures and activities. So what have I learned? Our building is our major restriction. Our other facilities are able to do all their athletic activities, et cetera. Everybody goes to the senior center. It's not going from one town to another building or whatever. We definitely need many more volunteers to enable a more active senior center. And I noticed again in Rutland's, they have a request out for volunteers for bakers, for their coffees, or Muffin Mondays, they've kind of delineated, and perhaps we should in the Herald delineate what kinds of tasks we could ask volunteers to do. Maybe the word volunteer is too overwhelming and people can't see how they could fit in to something to do. We need Council on Aging representatives to be present at any Council on Aging activity or service that appears on our events calendar. That includes blood pressure and podiatry. It isn't that we're checking on the nurses. They know what they're doing. I don't know what they do, but they know what they're doing and we trust them. It's that the Council on Aging offers those services and should be available to greet people if we have new participants in those activities. Should the nurse be saying, this is the OCAM Council on Aging, or should one of us be here to say, this is the OCAM Council on Aging? And answer questions. What else do you have to offer? Something of the sort. Rutland is fortunate enough, they have a greeter. They have someone at a desk when you walk in that's able to meet people and tell them what's going on. You know, that's a volunteer position. We haven't had that as yet. We should only hold one event, and I'm more guilty than anyone, at a time in the senior center because the walking group cut into geeky Melanie. But what I found because we have that one room downstairs, if a Christmas party is going on, you can't be doing a work meeting about something else in the same room. It just becomes loud and chaotic. People can't hear each other talk. It needs to be one activity at a time. And we need to work harder on advertising in our media. We've done a good job this month. At the beginning of the month, when Melanie got the calendar together, she put together what should go on the electronic sign right at the beginning of the month so that it's out there and can be changed. So maybe we should schedule that as the beginning of the month, change the sign so that things are posted out there. So that's where I'm coming from. So I don't know how to morph that into what do we need for bylaws? Do we need to typically state our positions as what the chair does, what the vice chair does? And then the question came up, I don't know that we got it on the agenda, about rotating the chair position.
Well, that's part of the bylaws.
Okay, and how do we create those? I know nothing.
I was actually hoping that Aaron would still be here
Okay,
because I think the Board of Selectmen are the only ones who have bylaws. Does any other group in town have bylaws, do you know?
Go by bylaw of the town.
They don't have bylaws.
Just a question, like how many years is a term on the Council on Aging? I think there's a tradition to it, perhaps.
Council on Aging used to be 5 years, and I believe they cut it short a couple of years ago to 3 years.
is that written down somewhere?
cuts that
Leslie?
down?
But it'd be coming from the state.
It comes from the state. Okay, so we need to investigate with
When
the
we were
state.
first on the boards, it was 5 years. And I would have like somebody who was 80
a
and
real
her
long
term
time.
was up, and she'd say, am I supposed to do this till I'm 85? And I'd say, if you sign up again, typically, yes.
I
That's
thought there was a
what it
limit of
was.
6 years on serving.
What I saw
It'd be awkward.
excuse me, but what I saw in what I was reading recently is that you can have a 3-year term. You can re-up
Yes.
for 3 years. So that would be 6. But after 6, you take a year off before you
Where
can
did you see that?
get back on. It's in one of the mass.
That wasn't all that long ago that they set those regulations.
I think it's in a binder
When we were
downstairs.
first starting, there was no such thing. And then they started talking at some of the trainings saying, well, you shouldn't be on any longer than 6 years. And then it slowly evolved into changing to those rules.
And was there any rotation for any of the,
mass laws.
I think there's a binder downstairs with it in
I
it.
know, but I was reading the mass laws online,
Oh, okay.
mass general laws
Yeah.
on Council on Aging.
Mhm.
The only one I found, the mass law, was when the state set it up. They set up the Council on Aging. Now, there could be other sections, but I couldn't find any.
There've been guidelines that have been put out
Okay,
since
so those are,
periodically. And one of the last ones was like 2009,
so that would,
but they are out there.
so that would be the Mass Council on Aging that would probably be putting those guidelines out.
No, it would be the Executive Office of Elder Affairs.
The Executive Office of Elder Affairs. So
They're the ones that run the deal.
so we have to look up the Executive Office of Elder Affairs.
And that's Frank Adam.
Oh, okay, that's the place.
That's the
Yeah.
place to
He's the
go.
one
That's
that
the place.
replaced the gentleman that had been in there for 20 some odd years that we used to work under
Mhm.
and who used to train us.
Mhm.
One of the questions that Jan brought up was officers, whether those roles get rotated. And I didn't think they should be. particularly.
That's a rule of, you make your own rule on that.
That's my question, though.
That's not a bylaw of any kind.
No.
So Elder Services doesn't have a rule on that, but they have a rule on how many years
No.
the term is.
The state,
The Elder
Elder
Services,
Services, yeah.
they set the rule on how long the terms are?
Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have a phone here that can do conference calls?
All of my telephones can do conference calls.
All right, so we should really have a conference call with Frank Adams.
Mhm.
You know, have him bring us up to date.
It's March 11th. He's on,
Is that why he didn't answer me?
yes, yeah.
Okay, because
Are there any other regulations from the Elder Services that have to do with this, like description of the duties?
Right.
Um,
Because I made up my own, trying to be equitable with everybody serving.
Right.
And that's when I coined the term outreach coordinator, but in going to the other towns, those are all paid positions.
Yes.
We should be advisory only, in my mind, not going for, now that I know.
Although we should be advisory only, but also providing services, activities, et cetera,
Right.
which is more than advisory.
Right.
But maybe when you do, like, if you decide to do job descriptions, I mean,
Usually bylaws has very simple job descriptions.
right.
Right.
That's
And I
what I was
have
gonna
those.
say, make it very simple, not too descriptive, just enough so you know what this particular person does.
That's something that's not going to change. You know, because we were talking about outreach. Well, we have somebody that was interested in doing outreach, but that person goes, he might not be doing it anymore. That
Right.
shouldn't be in the bylaws.
Right.
That becomes a volunteer activity.
So the
something-
simple job descriptions or position descriptions, chairman, presiding officer whose responsibilities range from facilitating meetings to establishing a working relationship with the COA director, we don't have one, to developing board members. Vice chair serves in the capacity of the chairman on an as-needed basis. Secretary records information, maintains files on minutes, policy matters, and attendance. Treasurer monitors and presents any budgetary decisions, fiscal matters to the board. Are those too simple?
Okay?
Are they too
That's it?
simple?
I don't know.
you don't need, you don't need a lot. This is
Okay.
very simple.
I'm going to tell you how old
Setup
these
here.
are. These came out of the Dukakis administration.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that was one of the last times they did something.
So I liked them because they were simple, but,
Yeah.
Then they don't have to change.
right,
Simpler item,
Right.
less change is
But
required.
as far as rotating, I mean, to me, it's what a person is good at. I mean, you're good at what you do. And
Claire is definitely good at what she does.
Yeah, but I couldn't do what she does.
I couldn't do what she does.
And that's gonna
Actually,
be
you
my
could.
point.
You can, yeah. You can. Yeah,
With the Board of Selectmen rotating, that's not a policy. That was something that they voted on in 1988. Somebody said, I think it's not fair for the same person to always be, especially if he didn't want it. Not everybody wants to be chairman. So they started the rotation that the first person in, that's the highest ranking one, who's been there the longest of the 3 years, got to be chairman. The next one down got to be vice chairman. The next one down, the last one elected, the brand new person in was clerk. Next year, they all moved around because then your chairman is either being reelected or he's getting off the board. If he got reelected, he goes back to the end of being clerk. But that
That works for you guys.
that was just voted on by the board itself. It was never written down as a steadfast rule or anything like that. They just thought that was the fair thing to do, is since they are all quote unquote chairman or select board members, that there was no distinction per se, but, you know, each one had his or her own place.
And we're in a unique position, are we not? Because we have been put on the Council on Aging for a 1-year appointment until July,
Till June 30th.
June 30th. And then our positions will be staggered.
We will stagger them.
How does that work? How do you decide that?
We can pull names out of the hat if you want.
Yeah.
And whatever name comes out.
No, I'm just asking because I didn't know if
for
it was.
years. If the next name comes out, you're on for 2 years. The next one is you're on for 1 year.
Right.
Another way to do it-
I never knew how to
Go forth
do
from
that.
there and you will do your rotation that way.
Another way to do it is to lay out the terms and just have people volunteer. I'll take a 2-year term, or I'll take a 1-year term because I have
You
to.
can do that also.
Yeah, because you have the chair, the co-chair, the secretary and the treasurer. And you don't want to have to renew them all the same year because if somebody decides they don't want to stay and it's multiple people,
Right.
now you end up with,
Well, anyone can resign in between times. You can always resign
right.
if you get busy, if something happens and you can't do it anymore, you're moving, whatever, you can always resign.
Mhm.
But I think most of the time when you stagger them,
The duration of appointments has got nothing to do with the positions that
Right,
you people
right.
vote yourself.
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's just basically to try and stagger the appointments so that it's not a brand new board every time they have to come up with,
Right.
you know, if they have to appoint like 4 or 5 people in a whack.
exactly,
So they only have to appoint 1 or 2 each year.
Right.
right.
And I would think with what I'm faced with this year, if I didn't have Rick doing the Herald and the minutes and everything and Claire with the finances, it would have been far more difficult than it's been. They've made it very easy for me in a lot of ways.
I
So,
don't know, you've been doing an awful lot.
but like I said, the devil's in the
I just wait
details.
for the period to close.
Well, see, in your mind, that seems easy. In my mind, I would be not very good at that. So, all right. So how do we want to handle the question on drafting basic bylaws?
I think there's 2 ways you might do it. One is to appoint a committee.
Mhm.
The other is just to have one person put together something that we can talk about in committee, in full committee. And I think the bylaws are actually simple enough where really one person can do it because you have a pretty
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
guideline there.
Sketch, yeah.
that was called the Good Practices Manual or something like that from Governor Dukakis. Yeah.
Wow, you
Yeah.
must have been really digging.
What about,
Yeah, well, yeah, I was.
how about
I
put
didn't
my
mean it
volunteer to pull
literally,
something
but-
together for next time? on
Okay,
bylaws?
Rick volunteers. Yay.
And, give us a copy of what you have there from Dukakis's reign,
Right.
and we'll work off that and I'll bring
Okay.
something back.
That's a pretty good manual that they put out.
I liked that.
It was succinct, you know, it didn't go on
Right.
and on and on
Right.
and on. It was very well done. I've read it a few times.
And we'll talk about how to handle the staggering too.
Okay. And rotation and whatever.
Just a reminder, and you may already know this, but anytime there's a quorum of members, even on a subcommittee, it's still a public meeting requiring all the posting and all of that, unfortunately.
That's why there's just 2 less components. Avoid that one.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so if we get together to just go through the forms and stuff for equipment, we may have to Zoom it.
Well, you don't necessarily have to Zoom it. That's a
Oh.
personal
Oh,
decision of
You
the
do have to
board.
Post.
But technically, if you might be discussing a decision that the board would normally make out in the shed, you really should have that as a public meeting.
so we could post it even now for April 5th.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And you just have to put the
Yeah,
location.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll post it.
Like the Cemetery Commission, I've already posted their next 2.
Okay,
I mean, it's always best to post it.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I put an event for the COA for today, and I set it up for every
Second
second
Friday.
Friday of every month, just so it's always there.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're always safer to just post it.
Now, I won't remember, you said that if someone clicks on that,
So when the agenda is being created, if you just go to agenda now to create an agenda, there'll be a thing about attributing it to a date of an event.
Yep.
It's already there. So you're going to pick the one for
the month.
March. And that way, then you finish your agenda, save it. But when someone just looks at the calendar, they're going to see March's date and they'll click on it and the agenda is clickable right there.
Okay, good.
So we should give Rick our agenda for April 5th as well as post it on the board.
So
Is quorum 3 or 4 if we have 6 people?
it's at least 50%.
50% or above?
3.
Okay,
So yeah, 3. Yeah.
All right. So we should also post it on the board outside for those people that.
That's the recommendation is if you could still post it on the board.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to post it outside too?
That's the recommendation. If you are able to post it out on the board, certainly in the beginning while people are getting used to it. But that was the request is that boards consider doing that. But technically the official posting is the one. But it doesn't hurt if you can do the other.
I think several boards have still been
Mhm.
posting them.
Okay, that's why I saw the number of postings go down.
Yeah.
On that board.
I thought we weren't doing it there, but I will.
Oh, okay.
But the one you have to make sure is the 48 hours is the online one.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Rick, for volunteering to,
And volunteering Clare too.
and volunteering.
Claire?
Oh, Claire, you've been volunteered.
All right. That's all right. You didn't volunteer me on the policy, did you? I thought you
The
volunteered.
bylaws.
On the bylaws.
Oh, you volunteered me on that?
I just thought we'd talk about it.
Okay, well, okay, that's fine.
We could pretend we're not.
Okay, all right, okay, and that's fine. That's fine, yeah.
And also under new business, I think we talked about it in the fall, and I think it would be important again because we have many more things that we should add to the Herald, like a disclaimer and maybe the phone, maybe by then we could get a decision on phone a friend kind of thing, to do a bulk mailing for the Herald
For April?
in April. If we can all put our heads together and think about those things that you'd want people to know about that maybe we all kind of know about, but they aren't written down, like a disclaimer, like, I don't know, now my mind went blank, but things that might not have been in before or maybe should continue to be in, like the loan of durable equipment, but now we have waivers and now we have a sign out, those kinds of things.
And I don't know if anybody received the one call code red, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Not everybody does because not everybody in OCAM is signed up for it.
Right.
Oh,
So if you have an opportunity to
Yeah.
send something out,
Ah,
I would
Yes.
recommend that because especially for seniors,
yeah,
many of them have home phones, but
Yeah.
some are getting rid of them. And you have to have signed, if you don't have a home phone, you have to sign up your cell phone to get that message.
okay.
and how do you sign it up?
It's on our website.
It's on the website?
Yep.
Okay,
Good to know. Those are the kinds of things that I think should be in like a bulk mailing because it goes to every household.
And the non-emergency police number should be put in almost every week.
Okay,
Because it's a new one now, right?
Yeah, it's another, and it's something you just keep getting that they actually
did I
get.
just make up a contact list with an old number?
Yeah, it's not the 882 anymore. It's an 886.
Yes.
I'll have to go and look what it is. I don't remember.
Because so many of them are just apt to dial 911 if they have a question.
Sure,
yeah.
And
sure,
this is the number they should be
Right.
calling.
definitely. Good to know. Yeah,
Just as a comment,
yes.
take it or leave it, if you put in too many of those policies and restrictions, it starts to look like a very negative approach.
Well, I thought about that. I think people need
Maybe
to
like one at a time, but not list them all
well,
together.
in the bulk mailing, I think we need to have anything that's new, like a disclaimer for health reasons for activities, that sort of thing. And as far as I was thinking about, because I know, Lucy, you said to me one time that they're taking so many things away from seniors by not allowing home visits and all of that. And I really thought hard about that, but my thought is, by accepting those phone calls, we're perhaps giving them more in the long run because we're going to be more aware of the professional help that's out there that we can give to those people. So yes, we may not be physically there, but we may be giving them more information than a physical visit might have included.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't doubt that at all, you know.
So I didn't want to feel like we were taking things away. I just wanted to bring us up to a more, I don't know, modern approach to how do you help people? Because some of the issues that you deal with are so much more difficult than just talking to someone.
Yes, they are.
So,
And some of them just want somebody to talk to.
exactly. My brother, believe it or not, my brother in Montana actually signed on to do a phone a friend in his senior center because of that, because he tends to be isolated, but it would help him to talk to someone else. So getting even volunteers to do that.
You could try a program like that
Right.
and say, you know, if you have somebody, you know,
Were you?
I'll have somebody who calls us at home, make sure we're still there the next morning.
Oh, not me. Oh.
But well, you have somebody at home with you. She does not. I do not. So we have people that contact us to say, you know,
Yeah.
are you on your feet? Yes.
And, something just went out of my mind. Oh, it went out of my mind. It was something.
Aaron has a question.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that the Leicester Regional Public Health Coalition is putting in for funding for a regional social worker because of this.
Yes. Because we did question them when they
Yeah, so
came.
it is in their planning.
Good.
Because there are so many homebound, and it's becoming more prevalent for hoarding, seniors with hoarding.
Mhm. Yep.
So really, that's the expert in managing that sort of stuff would be a social worker. And so they're adding that position.
I'm well aware of that problem.
One question before we leave the mass mailing of the Herald. A couple of you put the Herald together to mail it out to people.
Yes.
You know, what time would you like to have that ready? When do you need it to get it out to everybody?
Well, I mailed it on the 27th.
I sent it out the day before that.
You
I
sent,
sent it out as soon as you sent it to me.
right,
You sent
by email,
You sent it by email, right?
right. And
I
then.
did a bulk
as-
mailing before. I'm just wondering how long it takes, how long in advance you need to get it all
Oh, the
out.
bulk mailing. It took a full day to put it together for I forgot how many copies now, 600 copies, 500 copies that we needed to do.
I think it takes like 3 or 4 days to get it.
We were able to, there were 4 of us working and we were able to print it and address it the same day. We did it in a day
Mhm.
and mailed it. I mean,
How many pieces?
I forgot now.
If you're doing post office boxes, I believe it's 632.
Thank
That
you.
sounds right.
Funny how you'd know that. So. Yeah.
I get both.
Yes.
My husband likes to look at it online.
Yep.
And I do the paper because I like to take the calendar and stick it somewhere.
Right.
But I noticed when I get mine in the mail, it's always after the first of the month.
It is.
So if there was something going on for the first that I would have liked to have done.
That's why we talked about this first Friday. So it should be out. We talked about that last fall. It should be out.
It might only take a day to actually get it out, but to schedule people for that day,
Right,
we should do that in advance
right.
some way. At least I should get it to you as soon as
And
we can do that.
Do we know, well, if it's in town only, it's the same day.
No, so
No?
my understanding is that they don't like to do those bulk mailings on Mondays because they're catching up from the weekend.
Okay,
So they would rather avoid a Monday and I believe Fridays. But the people down there would tell you, but
okay,
I had heard Mondays and Fridays, they try to avoid doing a bulk mail.
okay. So it would change from month to month, wouldn't it? Depending on when,
Well, mostly it's just a matter of how many days beforehand you want it. That wouldn't change. But it sounds like you would probably want to get at least 3 or 4 days.
I would say
Mail it, it's gonna
5
take
days
longer.
before the first.
Right.
that's what we planned, I
Take it
think,
out like
last
in
fall.
2
I think
days,
we,
then it has 3 days to get there.
yeah, I think we
Okay.
planned that last fall, that it was to get to, we had a whole list of dates. It was going to go to Melanie by all the stuff by the 15th and then to Rick by the whatever, and Rick would have it back to us by the 25th or something like that, as I remember it.
Yeah, the 25th doesn't make a lot of sense if we're just emailing it out. Doesn't take that long. But if you're gonna meet and assemble it all,
Right,
definitely will take that long.
right.
Okay,
Okay. All right. Oh, and I had a question for Lucy. Were you part, in going through all this historic stuff and whatever, there was a phone a friend that I saved out the copy, but it was called no, I won't remember the right one, but every day a senior would get a call, and if they didn't call back if they didn't answer the call within 15 minutes, it was sent on to an emergency situation or something. Were you part of that?
That never really took hold.
I was wondering because I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
seniors that we know doing that.
It was even suggested at an annual town meeting one time, if you would like to be part of this, please sign up. But most of the seniors who it was intended to help looked at each other and said, well, I don't want them calling me before 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I don't want that. And no, they can't call me at 8 o'clock at night. I'm ready for bed.
I think you were supposed to be able to choose your time, but nevertheless, you had to answer within 15 minutes. Well, I know I can go out and play with the dog for 15 minutes and not hear the phone,
And we're supposed to go through dispatch and hold.
Yes, yeah.
And so I think it was kind of like the police department that had kind of suggested something like that along with dispatch, but it truly didn't get very far because I started hearing the mumblings like every day, they're going to be calling.
I get a phone call every morning at 8:30.
We're going to be in at such and such a time because that's our time to be called.
I
No.
don't get one, then I get
So
Oh, okay.
it wasn't too.
Well, I wondered how successful it was because it's all handwritten downstairs.
But it's better just to choose a buddy.
Yeah.
And say, if you're taking a shower today, please let me know when and call me when.
Oh, now
I know
that,
you're
too
okay.
much information, Lucy. Come on now.
But it helps. It works. It saves people. So
But I think Ocam is close enough that we could have a buddy system kind
we
of
could
thing.
easily have one because so many know each other, at least one person.
Well, some of you all know each other. I'm a newbie. But anyway,
Somebody's in a need, that's all.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
right,
Family coming in and out.
Right.
Geez, it might be nice to knock on the door or give
right.
Yeah.
a phone call,
But Ocam people are very independent.
Yes,
And they're very busy people. They're very active people. That's what we found by working with the seniors of Council on Aging. They were more active than I was.
Mhm.
And I said, oh my God, they're always here, always there. Well, I'm not going to be home for that. And off
Right.
they go.
Right.
So they really are
Presents a challenge.
pretty healthy at the same time, fortunately for us.
Mhm. All right, the last on the agenda, I think we can not do, Mel. It's the proposal to change the COA meeting to the first Friday.
Yeah, there's no point.
No point, okay. So we'll leave it as same. Okay, and that's it. Anything else that we need to talk about?
So this will be posted on YouTube in about maybe an hour.
That's fair.
That's cool.
So if you want to, Melanie, you could always share the YouTube on the OCAM Seniors Facebook page so that
Okay.
if there are seniors that are following that, they'll know that they can stay engaged with what the COA is doing, minus the hiccups with the mute. They'll eventually pick up the voices.
No problem.
Anything else that we need to be aware of?
okay, Melanie, you're gonna post the video to the town website?
No.
So I posted to the YouTube,
But you put it on a Facebook
but
page?
she could put it on the YouTube. No, right on the Facebook.
Good to know.
Because there's only 23 followers of the town's YouTube page.
So far.
Yeah, it's been a while,
It's
since
been a while.
September.
Yeah.
So I think people just check it occasionally. But if you subscribe, you'll get an alert that there's a new video uploaded.
Gotcha. Okay. Then we can entertain a motion
Move to
to,
adjourn.
thank you. Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
Can you turn off Zoom now? Thank you.
Should be end meeting. It's end. Yep. And for all.
So did we?
Yeah.